je me suis pas lavé. And then obviously with grammar, je ne me suis pas lavé. I never got washed. So give me I got washed. Je me suis lavé. So the first verb in that sentence would be suis. I never got washed. Je me suis jamais lavé. For grammar, je ne me suis jamais lavé. Je ne me suis jamais lavé. Now that's fine, so say these with me. We're going to make them all negative. We're just going to put a basic tu. We're going to use the verb laver, and we're going to put a basic ne and pas in. Okay, and I'm going to say it once with the pas only, and once with the ne as well. Okay? I'll say it normally, with the half negative and with the full negative. Je me suis lavé. Je me suis lavé. Je me suis pas lavé. Je ne me suis pas lavé. Tu t'es lavé. Tu t'es pas lavé. Tu ne t'es pas lavé. Il s'est lavé. Il s'est pas lavé. Il ne s'est pas lavé. Watch this one for all the ends. Nous nous sommes lavés. Nous nous sommes pas lavés. Nous ne nous sommes pas lavés. Okay? Vous vous êtes lavés. Vous vous êtes pas lavés. Vous ne vous êtes pas lavés. Ils se sont lavés. Ils se sont pas lavés. Ils ne se sont pas lavés. Okay? So this is a bit of a mouthful with the ne. But things to remember. The ne doesn't have to be used orally. For those of you writing for your A-level and even your G.C.S.E, which would be very impressive to use one of these at G.C.S.E, or degree level, we would expect this written down. But orally, I think you can get away with this, to be honest with you. I always do, unless I'm in very, 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 very formal company. So, next thing to remember is because you are using the verb to be in the middle, you are going to treat it like the verb to be. So there are some expressions where this doesn't actually take place, and I will give you a more complicated version on this another time. There are some expressions where we don't actually include the person directly as having this done to them, so we wouldn't modify the end verb. But largely, if you are doing something to yourself, you are going to be treating yourself like the verb to be. So if you said I went, je suis allé, and you were female, we know by now you would add an I. Je suis allé. If you washed yourself, je me suis lavé, you're the thing that's being washed, you're going to be putting an I on the end there as well. So je me suis lavé. So again, like the reflexive, like the être verbs, you're not really going to hear this, because most of the verbs that are in the past will end in an U, an I, an A. So verbs like, she had some work done, she had some facial construction. Elle s'est refaite, she redid herself. Yeah, because your verb would be F-A-I-T with an E on the end. So basically just something to remember any time you use the verb to be in the past, be it on its own, je suis allé, je suis parti, or je me suis lavé, whatever, be mindful of whether you need to put the E or the S for the plural on the end of that word. Okay, so for example, we got washed, we're using the verb to be in the middle. So nous nous sommes lavé, we're going to need an S on the end, or even an ES if we're plural. Okay, so let's just do a few examples. Yesterday at 4 o'clock, you guys got up. Yeah, really early. Hier, à 4 heures du matin, vous vous êtes levés. You woke up at 3:30. Same you plural. Vous vous êtes réveillés à 3h30. Okay? We got washed. We're going to tell you. We got washed. Nous nous sommes lavés. Nous nous sommes lavés. We got washed using the cheeky informal on. On s'est lavé. Okay? I realized. Yeah, I realized. Je me suis rendu compte. Now, a final thing, and I'm not going to do all of this in this video, but for those of you who are getting comfortable with some of these ideas, if I wanted to play with this now, this central verb, then two things can happen. I can stick this verb in other places. So for example, as we've talked about with the pluperfect, when we say, for example, je suis allé, I went, j'étais allé, I had gone, you know, il est parti, he has left. Il était parti. So what do we do to make something had in French? I had done something. We put the middle verb in the wishy-washy, in the a, ion, a tense. So likewise, if you wanted to, and I will do a whole video on this, if you wanted to make it I had got washed, then automatically all you're going to do is change the verb there to the had form of the verb to be. So je m'étais, tu t'étais, il s'était, nous nous étions, on s'était, vous vous étiez, il s'était. Okay, I will do another complete video on that transformation. But it's an idea for those of you that get the logic now to be thinking of. So it would be nice for you as well, not until you have fully learned je me suis, tu t'es, il s'est, to learn je m'étais, tu t'étais, il s'était, which to be honest is kind of simpler because it's all E, okay? Je m'étais, tu t'étais, il s'était, nous nous étions, vous vous étiez, il s'était, okay? That will be underneath, but I am going to do a video on that specifically, okay? Equally, those amongst you who have started to embrace the marvellous use of the subjunctive, okay, if that means nothing to you yet, then please click ahead and look at the subjunctive video. You could do the same thing. So, je me sois, tu te sois, il se soit, nous nous soyons, vous vous soyez, il se soit. You've completely modified the verb to be in the middle. So, formally, and often gets dropped in speedy conversation, it's weird he got washed at 8 o'clock. C'est bizarre qu'il se soit lavé. Yeah? If we went with I would have gotten washed, so any of our future tenses, be they will or would. Okay, so again, all we're going to do is keep the is change the third word. Now, an idea you might like to think of for this is when we talked about going into the had tense, we said we were going to keep the first word and the third word. So, for example, I spoke, j'ai parlé. We're going to keep je parlais, and that we're just going to change the middle word to the was. So, j'ai parlé, j'avais parlé. He left, il est parti, il était parti. So with this one, you might like to think, yeah, the same thing. I'm keeping 1, I'm keeping 2, I'm changing 3, and I'm keeping 4. So I'm only changing number 3. So for example, je me suis lavé, I would have got washed. Verb has to be the verb to be. Je me serais lavé, or tu te serais lavé. So that's just a little link to other things you can do with this model. For the compound tenses, that means tenses with 2 verbs, in other places in French. Desperately useful. For the moment though, the main point of this video is to be able to do something in the past with a reflexive. Poetry, past participle. Okay? To touch. He touched, il a touché. That will give you the past word. Yeah. She touched herself, pardon the expression. Elle s'est touchée. Yeah, we touched ourselves. Nous nous sommes touchés. Let's change this, it's a bit suspicious. He got dressed. The verb is habiller. Habiller will all be underneath. H-A-B-I-L-L-E-R. So habiller, past word, habiller. So he got dressed. Il s'est habillé. Il s'est habillé. Yeah, depending if you're a linker or not. Nous nous sommes habillés. Okay. We didn't get washed. We didn't get dressed. Nous nous sommes habillés. Okay. So, any questions on this, please do get in touch. But I have to completely stress one final thing. It is absolutely ubiquitous in French. It is absolutely everywhere. There are so many expressions that particularly use this se pronoun. Okay, so for example, the situation improved in English, the situation improved itself in French. La situation s'est améliorée. Okay, the situation presented itself, you know. S'est présenté, yeah, s'est révélé, revealed itself. So this model of using the self in non-personified sentences, i.e. things rather than people, okay, we only really use self. I suppose we say it cleans itself for an object, but basically most of the time in English, if you're using self, you're talking about a person. In French, this is everywhere, everywhere. So same as I always say, when you have anything with a se, or anything indeed with the third person, that's the he and she and the they, make sure that you practice saying them with different names. So for example, he got washed, il s'est lavé. Luke got washed, Luke s'est lavé. Okay, practice that. Okay, so your system guide, poetry, past. One more time with me, guys. Je me suis, past word, tu t'es, past word, il s'est, past word, nous nous sommes, past word, vous, vous êtes, past word, ils, se sont, past word. Well done indeed. Any questions, get back to me. If this video has been useful for you, and this is a really useful structure for A-level or degree writing, it impresses, then please do give me a nice big thumbs up, like, and let me know if you have any questions. Very best wishes.